the Daiwa TD Black. I've owned 4 of these bad boys across 3 different generations, so I've got heaps to say. Let's dig in to the Daiwa TD Black. Alright, let's flesh out the social proof. You know, I haven't just gone out and bought one rod or one reel and then decided to jump on YouTube and do a review for you. No, I've been fishing TD Black for a long time. It's a product I love. I've got a lot of experience with it. I've got 4 rods and 3 reels. Let's go over the rods that I've got from the oldest to the newest. Okay, so from the 2018 series, we've got a TD Black Drunken Monkeys, a 61001 ULFS, a cast weight of 0.5 to 4 grams, and a line weight of 1 to 2 kilos, a 1 to 2 kilo rod from the 2018 series. Also from the 2018 series, we have got a TD Black Itchy Twitchy 2, so a 61002 LFS, a cast weight of 1 to 5 grams and a line weight of 1.5 to 3 kilos. My 1 to 3 kilo rod, which I snapped. I snapped it a couple of months ago. There's a video somewhere else on the channel if you want to see the full story. Otherwise, we'll just talk about it. We'll ignore it. We'll ignore it, all right? We'll just carry on like it's not snapped. Scraping it on the roof. That's not good. All right, from the 20 series, we've got a 20 TD Black Paddlefish, a 742 LXS. So a cast weight of 3.5 to 12 grams, a line weight, this is a 2 to 5 kilo rod from the 2020 series. And then from the 23 series, we have got a 23 TD Black, a Scratchy 2, a 702 LFS, a cast weight of 1 to 8 grams, and this is a 1 to 4 kilo rod. So from the 23, we've got a 1 to 4 kilo rod. Reels, just quickly fleshing it out. Here's something kind of rare. This is a Generation Black 2500. Kind of hard to find these. That's my old Gen Black. From the 2018 series maybe? I'm not too sure. This is a Light Tough 2000. So a nice little beautiful reel that we use for finesse, a little LT 2000. And then from the 21 series, I think it is, this is a 2500 shallow. So 4 rods, 3 reels, and in fact, if you're a TD Black fanatic, you'd know that there was something called Black Label back in the day. I own 2 Black Label rods as well, so if you really want to count that in, we're talking about 6 rods, 3 reels, but I'll just call it 4 rods, 3 reels, okay? So Daiwa says that this 23 TD Black is the 3rd generation of TD Black, but don't believe it. It's actually the 4th generation. If we include Generation Black, in which most of the names and most of the specs carry over, the 23 TD Black is actually the 4th generation of TD Black. So you see most of the names carry over. Itchy Twitchy, Supercaster, the Pinster, all those famous models. They all carry over from Gen Black. So really we're talking a lineage that stretches back, 2016, 2015, 2016? I couldn't date Gen Black. But basically, when I first saw Briggsy strolling around with his Pinster and his Supercaster all those years ago, all I ever wanted was a TD Black. You don't think these videos influence you, but wow, when I saw Briggsy using those rods, all I ever wanted was a TD Black. Still haven't got a Pinster or a Supercaster. Daiwa, maybe you can flow some. They're the next models on my list. But yeah, Briggsy really influenced me. He's my hero and he's kind of got me on the train of TD Blacks. Pay attention in the videos where you're watching people fish and you're not too sure what the rod is. The chances are it might be a TD Black. There's so many pros that use these in their videos. They don't tag the equipment. But if you pay attention, I know it's quite stealthy, which is what I love. But that labeling, quite often the rod when there's nothing flashy on it, it's a TD Black. All right, guides. I always start with guides. They're a really, really expensive, important part of what you're paying for when you're spending money on a high quality rod. So we're sitting with Alkanite. These are Fuji guides and they're Alkanite. Now Alkanite sits above Fazlite. And if you're around that $200, $250 price point, you're likely going to be getting Alkanite or Fazlite, and both are perfectly fine. I use both. But the in-feet range, the 23 or 24 in-feet range, whatever it is, that uses Fazlite. whereas on the TD Black we've got alkanite, so we're that little bit step above. So we're really happy with that. Now the guides on these rods, I sat down and I thought about it. You know, there are more expensive guide trains, so I can't give this a 10 out of 10, but I've got to give this a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Why? Well, I've got 4 rods and they've all held up. There's zero rust, zero issue over since 2018, 2020, the 23 rod. Just no problems at all. We'll go over these. Before I got into the review, I sat down and I went over these in fine detail, so we'll try and pick that up as we go over the guides. But I own 4 rods, zero problems over a long period of time. A couple of these rods have the absolute pants thrashed off them. And I think that actually that's why alkanite is a fantastic product for this, because most of the people that I see fishing these beat the absolute crap out of these rods. They really just take to them and they use them and they use them and they thrash them. And I think alkanite is perfect for it's a really appropriate choice for how these rods are used by the market. They hold up, they're high quality, they're fantastic. So we are holding right now one of the 2018 rods. We're holding the 61002, the 1 to 3 kilo. So I've got 2 rods from 2018, both guides, absolutely immaculate. We've got some scratching there. These are painted black, interestingly, so they're a little bit different. In theory, they're the same guide through 2018, 2020, and 2023. As I did my research for this video, I expected to find differences in the blank and the guide and the handle assembly. We'll talk about all those, but essentially what we have found is that Daiwa created a fantastic rod back with Gen Black and with the 2018 models, and very little has changed. They've gone huff a fluff with the handle assembly, and we'll talk about my thoughts there. But that's what they've been using to freshen up the range and keep it new and interesting. But the guides have always been alkanite, always, all the way back from Gen Black. Certainly the 2018 series is alkanite. And I have had zero problem with these guides, either with the inserts or any of the rust in there. I'm quickly going to run down and see if I can get the GoPro to focus up. So here we go. This is the 2-piece rod. Now, I'm not sure how much I can get this to focus up, but rest assured that I have gone down these in fine detail. I'm not going to bore you too much. These have taken an absolute thrashing. They're still golden. Let's get the 1 to 2 kilo rod up. Let's quickly show you everything. 2018, the 1 to 2 kilo rod. This is a 1-piece rod. I'll try and get it all in camera for you. But just golden. These guys were painted black, so some paint has been scratched off these guides. Let me stretch the tip guide in there for you. All right, on to the 20. Now, interestingly, this is where the guides weren't painted black anymore, so they're sort of anodized. In theory, they're the same guide, but they're now like an anodized silver. So they've sort of, with a bit of use, they've gone that sort of off silvery color. They're not bright and shiny, but again, golden. This is the 7.4. I'm going to struggle to get all of this in, but this is the paddlefish. All right, I'm going to just have to stretch that tip guide in there for you. All right, no dramas. We are absolutely golden with the 2020 model. And here we go with the SCRATCHY 2. So these look like the same guides as the 2020. Not painted black, that sort of anodized silver. So Fuji alkanite. And with the 23 model, I have zero problem with the guides. We're golden. Let's get this tip piece out for you. There we go. So this rod's had a lot of use, this 23. you note that I've got a mix of 1 and 2 piece rods. So when I'm traveling with a family on a holiday, I can't take a 1 piece rod with me. It's got to be 2 piece rods, which is why in the 23 with the Scratchy that I bought a 2 piece rod. I bought a 2 piece rod because it's my traveler. So before I snapped the 61002, the 2018, I was using that as my traveler, and this was also my traveler as well. So 1 to 3 kilo and a 1 to 4 kilo rod. So 2 pieces are important to me because I need the rods for traveling with the family. So I think there's a lot of people in those situations as well. Now, we're talking about guides, so I'll have a quick blab about the blank. I don't think that you are too penalised at all. In fact, I don't feel any penalty with a 2 piece rod with the TD Blacks. I think the 1 piece is obviously, it's a continuous form of carbon, so that is going to feel the best. The 2 piece can never compete with that. But the 2 piece rods just feel fantastic. The way the ferrule mates in. Daiwa have been trying to improve that. The way that the ferrule mates in there, you've got plenty of time for that to wear down over time, so the join can mate closer and closer in together. I find these TD Black 2 piece rods to be just fantastic. But anyway, we're talking about guides. I could not be happier with the guides. I've got really nothing to tell you other than, I've owned those 2018 rods, that 1 to 3 kilo rod. Wow, it's my most used rod ever, and all the guides are fine. So we've got to really stretch up close to a 10, don't we? But look, it's not a top of the line guide train, so I can't give it a 10. So let's go with a 9.5. TD Black guides, 9.5 out of 10. All right, reel seat and handle assembly. Here's where the rods have really changed over time. From the 2018 to the 20, the 20 and the 23, things have really changed. And what we're going to find through this review is that essentially the guides haven't changed. The blank really hasn't changed, but it's the handle and reel seat assembly that's changed. Daiwa are using that, their marketing department, their product development, as the way to freshen the product range up and keep it new and keep it exciting. And that's super cool. But we do have some quite different differences between the years, which actually makes it quite difficult to compare. So back in the 2018 model, of which I have 2, we've got an EVA handle with a little carbon insert, and it says Fuji there. So we've got some sort of Fuji reel seat. And I've got 2 of these. I think they're this EVA product. It's got Daiwa stamped in there. I've almost kind of worn it all off. This has had an absolute thrashing. This is my most used rod ever that I have since snapped, since I fell out of my boat. Check the other video on the channel. What do I think of this? This is just a fantastic handle. Very, very ergonomic, very useful. The way that it falls into your hands in the 2018 model, absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's an easy 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Just a classic fisherman's, constant use type handle. It was just so comfortable for me. And then we jumped up to the 20, which kind of got a bit blingy. So here's a 20. This is the paddlefish. So we got this kind of carbon. Is it carbon or is it plastic? I don't know. This flashier kind of butt down here. Look, feels nice. Feels a lot more premium, I'll give it that. You've got that nice bit running into this beautiful black trim piece, into the nice shaped bit of EVA. We've got something quite similar, this little carbon piece and the locking nut, and then we've got air sensor written there. I think this is when they went up to the air sensor reel seat. But the handle assembly is so different from the 2018 that there's no way that we could kind of compare whether the air sensor is better or not. Anyway, this handle still feels absolutely fantastic. It's kind of new and it's fresh in 2020. Love it. Then we jumped up to 2023. We've got this handle here, and the big change was this spiral grip down the base. Wasn't really in love with it when I first got it, but that's because I was very, very attached to my 2018 and my 2020 rods. I've gotten to really like it. It doesn't bother me. I don't even think about it anymore. As I sat there and I pondered my thoughts for this review, it really just does look like Daiwa messing around and keeping it fresh for our benefit, which I don't mind at all. I love the fact that they're constantly fiddling around with the product range. They're always deleting rods and adding models in every time they go through the range. It's around 36 models, I think. It's just a massive range. So I really love the fact that they're always just frothing around with things and switching it up. So we've got the locking nut there on the bottom. So sometimes it's changed to the top, to the bottom, and a little bit of EVA. I do have one little comment here. This is this kind of metallic piece here, the locking nut that screws up. You see on some of my friends' rods and on this rod here that the paint is chipping off this little locking nut. So I've got paint that's been chipped off there. So I don't think this is holding up as well. I've got paint chipped off the 2018 locking nut as well, but that rod has just been thrashed and thrashed and thrashed. So I'm gonna give this an 8.5 or a 9. I still love it, I absolutely love it. And look, this is from 23, so based on past history, if we're lucky, we'll get a range refresh next year in 2026. If not, it'll be in 2027, and they'll do something different with the handle assembly again. We've got the air sensor reel seat in the 2023, but they've changed it so much from model to model that we've got really no way of checking whether the air sensor reel seat has improved or detracted from it. Just know that it's fantastic. Daiwa's always fiddling with it. They're super invested with the rod range, and I don't mind it at all. Look, every time they do a refresh, we get something new and funky, and it's a reason to get involved with the TD Blacks and froth out and maybe go buy that, that rod that you've been missing from the range. Hook keepers! For the love of the fish, we've got a hook keeper on a $200 rod. Oh, Daiwa, thank you. I can't stand it when you buy a rod around $200 to $250 and there's no hook keeper on the damn thing. I absolutely hate it. I hate hooking our jig heads and our lures on the guide frame there. I can't stand it. So on all TD Blacks, we've got a hook keeper. Imagine my absolute love for this range when I bought the 2018 rods, and there's the most amazing hook keeper that you've ever seen. It's this little flip down catch here. There you go, bang, and got a little bait junkie jig head there. Whooshka, that's on the 2018 models. And I thought, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen on a rod around this price point. So it faced the right way. You never got your line twisted, your leader twisted through the main line as you took your jig head off the hook keeper. That's on the 2018. It's a fantastic product. I've always looked after those little hooks. They're both fine on both of my 2018 rods. I did wonder whether if you're a little rough with it, whether it snaps off. I've got no problems. There's no rust in there, and these have never degraded or snapped off. Jump up to the 2020. We've still got a hook keeper here, but annoyingly, it's for me what is a cheaper style, just a little latch on the blank there, and your lure hooks in like that. But then I've got a habit of, I take it out the wrong way and I loop it over the main line, and then I've got to feed it back through, and I feel like an idiot. A little bit frustrating. Look, there's a hook keeper there. I'm super excited, but would prefer that 2018 model. I'm not sure if Daiwa got a whole lot of returns because blokes were snapping them off. That's the 2018. It's on the underside of the blank. Let's have a look at the 23, if we can stop scraping our rod on the roof. Here we go with the 23. We're on the underside as well, so the same as the 20. So we've got what looks to be exactly the same hook keeper there on the underside of the blank. So I am just overjoyed that there's a hook keeper on a rod at this price point. A little bit annoyed that in 2018, I think Daiwa invented the best hook keeper I've ever seen ever on any rod of any price point, and then they didn't keep going with it. I don't know why. But anyway, we've got a hook keeper. I'm super excited about that. Thank you, Daiwa. In fact, why don't you put 2 hook keepers? Put that on the top of the blank and put the old fold-out clip from the 2018 on the underside of the blank. Why don't you treat us all and put 2 hook keepers on these rods? So the blanks themselves, well, they're fantastic. I'm going to give the blanks at least a 9 out of 10. We've got crisp, fast action blanks that always feel good. They feel just right, just straight down the middle. So if you're doing a mix of soft plastics and treble hooked lures, these are going to be right on the money for you. And they never feel insensitive. They never feel truly amazing, but they never feel underwhelming either. Remember, we're around that $200 price point here, so our expectations aren't of a $600 TD Commander. These feel absolutely phenomenal for around 200 bucks. If the idea of choosing a fast or a slow action blank out of the infinite range feels a little bit daunting, then a TD Black is really going to suit you. You get what you get and you don't get upset. The action on these blanks will get you home and it'll get the job done, and you don't have to think too much about it. Does the length of the rod suit you? Does the lure weight that rod will throw suit you? If so, the rod will do it. In fact, the action on these blanks must be some sort of industry standard. At around 200 bucks, you get something that's immediately familiar and comfortable. It's never truly amazing, but it's never underwhelming. It's right on the money. It just feels like something that you can pick up and use straight away. It's this accessibility at a price point to a great blank. You know, one of these rods can cover 80% of my fishing needs, and that just makes me use it so much. It's so flexible across such a wide range of applications. And what about all this gobbledygook about the actual layup of the blank itself and the joins? Ooh, well, I expected to find changes over time, but man, I'm a TD Black fanatic and I could not decipher what was going on the Daiwa website. So I've sort of come to the conclusion that things haven't really changed much over time. And in fact, if you go all the way back to Gen Black, certainly the 2018 series, things haven't really changed. You would have thought slowly over time that you would have got more of the good stuff, X45 and HVF Nano Plus. Maybe you have, but I can't decipher it out of the Daiwa website, and I don't feel it in the rods. All that's fine. It just means that way back in Gen Black 2018, they knocked this so far out of the park that they haven't changed it too much. So I've got the 2018 rod in front of me. It says X45, V-joint, and HVF Nano Plus on the blank here. Guess what? My 2023 rod has all the exact same stuff. And I did some research. I tried to find out how much the good stuff has changed. Sure, the blanks feel different as you run your fingers up and down them. Maybe things have been added in terms of X45 Full Shield and HVF Nano Plus. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't decipher it. I don't really care. The 2018 blanks feel fantastic. The 2020 blank feels fantastic. And the 2023 blank also feels fantastic. How much of the good stuff's in there? I don't know. There's some of it there. Here we are with the tip piece off the 23 TD Black. And certainly the blanks feel different. There's this ribbing all the way up the blank. Maybe that is HVF Nano. I don't know. You know, why would you change something that isn't broken? These blanks are fantastic. They've felt good all throughout all the 3 or 4 generations. They feel phenomenal. And I hate when manufacturers just fiddle around with something for the sake of it and then they ruin what was already a fantastic product. If it isn't broken, why fiddle around with it? So price value. Let me tell you, man, if you pay 200 bucks for this rod, this is the best value rod in Australia. There is nothing that compares to this at 200 bucks. To spend 200 bucks of my money on this rod makes me so happy. I own 2 rods from 2018 that I have beaten the crap out of since 2018. You know, how do you think I feel with that long-term fishing experience for $200? It just makes me such a loyal customer with TD Black to have spent 200 bucks and just had these beautiful rods for so long. So there's 36 models in the range at the moment. They're always fussing around the edges, adding models and deleting models. You've got to be able to find something in here. I think definitely a part of why people love TD Black is that Daiwa's got massive commitment to this range. Like I said, they counted as the 23 as the 3rd generation, but really it's the 4th generation. They started with Generation Black. And they've got huge commitment to this. They're obviously just going to keep going with it forever. So it's a product that you can buy with confidence. It's been well sorted over a long period of time. And you know what? If you don't like it, it's an easy resell. There's a huge appetite for this secondhand. So if you get into a rod or a reel and you don't like it, well, it's an easy resell if you decide that it's not for you. But just know that Daiwa is hugely committed to this. Every 2 to 3 years, they're refreshing the rods and the reels. So let's talk about that $200 price point, because that's quite important. If you could do a quick Google while you're watching this video, you'll find these models between $200 and between $250, excluding those slightly longer models like the Supercaster and the Slugger. For the 7.6 and the 8.0, those slightly heavier models, you've got to pay a little bit more money. But I'm talking about the estuary rods, so anything that's shorter than the 7.6, I think the 7.4 is around, you should be paying $200. Do a quick Google and you will find that there is reputable online sites and brick and mortar stores that are selling this for $200. So I can tell you from personal experience that Hot Tackle on the central coast of New South Wales and Otto's Tackle World here in Sydney sell these for $200 regularly. There's also, I think, Mo Tackle and Freddy's, when I was doing a quick Google, I've got these for $200. Seen them for $200 in Anaconda and BCF on sale. So you should be walking into whatever store is close to you and demanding a price match, okay? Don't pay the $250 for the estuary models. I want you to be paying $200 because $50 is a lot of lures, isn't it? That buys a lot of soft plastics or a couple of double clutches. So it is important that you get these rods at the right price point because you're going to be super, super excited as you fish it over the years that you paid $200. So $200 is the price point for the estuary rods. Walk in, demand a price match, $200. Feel good factor. I'm going to be giving TD Black a 10 out of 10. I don't know if you got the vibe by now, but I love these. I absolutely love them. You know, this is one of my first proper rods when I got into those 2018 TD Blacks, and I just felt like a proper fisherman. I felt just super, super stoked. Felt legit, you know, wandering down to the wharf with a TD Black in your hands. And it's really a rod that can anchor your fishing experience over the years. You know, you can buy one of these, keep it long term. You can go off and you can try other things. We all love trying different things, and I'm all for that. I'm a gear junkie just like you. But you buy one of these and it's kind of been the mainstay of my fishing experience. You go off, try other things, and then you come back to these and you get all frothy about your TD Black again. So it's a rod that can really anchor your range over time while you try a whole bunch of different stuff. Of real importance to me is the way that Daiwa have kept this range super core. From the 2018, well, with Gen Black, 2018, 2020, and 2023, Daiwa really seem to understand who buys this product. It's people like me, it's people like you, core fishermen, who don't want a flashy, you know, high marketing, buzzy, loud guitar fishing experience. I want something that's stealthy and super core. They have never messed with the core idea of TD Black. This is the 23, and really the TD Black labeling on it is so discreet, you can barely pick it up. And all the labeling is so small, there is nothing flashy about this. It actually takes a little bit of looking to know what this rod is, and that's the way that we like it. Throughout its whole existence from Gen Black all the way up to the 23, this is just a core fishing product. The rods and the reels have all been kept totally black. There's minimal branding, there's nothing flashy. You even struggle to read the fact that it says TD Black on it. And I absolutely love this, how it's just been kept a super core fishing product. You feel like you are part of, you know, a core stealthy family when you own a TD Black. You wander down the wharf with one of these under your hands and people know that you mean business, that you've actually thought about your purchase and that you are a fisho. So longevity. What are we going to score longevity? Am I going to give it a 10? Yeah, I am really going to give it a 10. Look, I don't know what else to tell you. I own 4 of these. I've owned 2 of these since 2018, so 7 years. I've owned one since 2020, and I've owned the other one since, 23 odd. I've owned 4 rods for a long period of time, and I have beaten the absolute crap out of them. I have had nothing go wrong. I've had nothing fail. The guides are all golden. I'm really happy with the blanks. The handle assembly is fantastic. My little quibbles about the hook keeper aside and some scratches on the locking nut. I don't know what else to tell you. I've fished these so much and I've owned these for, some of these, the 2018, they're the oldest rods that I own. What else do I tell you? A 10 out of 10. I've owned these for just so long and I could not be happier. If I hadn't fallen on my 1 to 3 kilo rod from 2018, I could maybe fish that, till I was in a wheelchair. What a fantastic rod. I've just got to go with 10 out of 10 for longevity. These things do the miles. So at the end of these reviews, we always pose the question, would I buy the rods again? If you're still watching by now, why are you even asking that question? Of course I would buy these again. I own 4 of the damn things, and I plan on buying more. I've always wanted to own a Pinster, a Captain Risky, and a Supercaster. Thanks Briggsy, for making me obsessed with a Supercaster and a Pinster. I've got to buy those soon. A Captain Risky, I think, would be a good replacement for the rod that I snapped. Daiwa, look, if you want to, throw some my way, then we'll get those on review. But I've spent all my own money on this gear. This channel's far too small for me to be receiving free gear, and I plan on spending more money on TD Blacks. So of course I would buy these again. When I got into TD Black, I felt like I'd become a proper fisherman. No one questions your cred when you're walking around with one of these. So many pros in videos on YouTube use these. They just don't tag the product. Pay attention to what they're using and see how often you're actually watching a TD Black in action. This 1 to 3 kilo 610 that I snapped a couple of months ago was my favorite rod in the whole world. Out of all the rods that I've owned, which is quite a few, this is the favorite rod. Now this rod wasn't a 10 out of 10 in every department, but you know what? Over the years I learned that it was a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10 in all departments, which meant that it was the first rod that I picked up for an emission around the estuaries. I could cover at least 80%, probably more, of my fishing in the estuaries with this one rod. This made this thing the rod that I picked up all the time. It was the first rod that I went to. I absolutely adored this rod. Rest in peace, 610. Fisher folk, at the $200 price point, this is the best rod in Australia, the Daiwa TD Black. I love you, TD Black. Ooh, are you still here? Okay, you can go now.